What did you learn as a little kid that you never imagined you would use as an adult? I was 9 when my parents first punished me with forced starvation. I was already borderline anorexic, and that week I spent without food sent my body into shock that hospitalized me with brain damage. I came out of it barely alive, needing assistance tools to communicate, and a lot less hyperactive than I was. My parents noticed how much easier their life was when I was basically a vegetable, and decided that going forward, if I ever started recovering and becoming too much again, they'd just starve me. Just like that, my childhood became a cycle of turning my brain to mush over and over. I ended up running away at 15, and I never looked back. Fast forward to last year, I was 39, and somehow got my brain to a point where I'd attended and even graduated college. I became a teacher at an elementary school, striving to be the safe space kids need but sometimes don't have at home. That brings us to Sophie. Sophie was a girl in my first ever 4th grade class from a put-together and affluent family, but there was something about her. From the day I met her, her cheeks were sunken, her eyes looked tired, and her mouth watered when food was mentioned. The signs became impossible to ignore on day 1. During lunchtime, she chewed on her erasers. She bit her nails and ate her cuticles. I remember voicing my concerns to the principal, but he assured me that Sophie was in good hands and told me not to ask questions. Of course, I didn't believe it. I started paying more attention, noticing how Sophie's mother picked her up early twice a week for what she called portfolio shoots. Within 2 weeks of the school year starting, she had become the class bullying target. Kids started calling her skeleton and bony. They'd dangle food above her head and snatch it away when she reached for it. The worst part was when I contacted these kids' parents. The principal would get involved, telling me it's not up to me to discipline them. I was in shock. I still tried telling myself that maybe Sophie was just naturally thin or something, but that all came crashing down one Monday. Sophie arrived at school shaking so badly she could barely hold a pencil. I caught her drinking from the unfiltered bathroom tap like she hadn't had water in days. She traded her designer shoes for crackers during lunch. Later, I found her in the bathroom literally eating tissues. I remember offering her some of my lunch that day, and her eyes lit up. She looked almost apprehensive to take it. Genuinely bewildered I didn't hit her after she took a second bite. I tried to ask her about her home life, but she refused to say a thing until the next day. She came in limping, looking like she had been hurt. I found her in the bathroom, but this time she started opening up. She mentioned something about how she ruined a shoot by looking bloated. She wouldn't say more, but that was enough for the pieces to start connecting. From that day on, I started a secret breakfast club before school free of charge where I supplied all the food myself. Only Sophie showed up after telling her parents she was coming in early to study. She always ate everything I brought. For 3 weeks, I fed her and watched her gain energy. Even the bullying decreased as her cheeks filled out. Unfortunately, that was my mistake. The food made her face look healthier. I remember one day after school, her mother stormed into my classroom screaming at me. She didn't even introduce herself, just started yelling about how she knew what I was doing. She bansheed that Sophie had lost a $5,000 booking because of me. She accused me of sabotaging Sophie's career and asked me how it feels knowing I was costing an honest family a living. I stared at her in disbelief. Here this woman was, proudly alluding to the fact she starves her child. I remember telling her that damn right I fed Sophie, and that I was going to keep feeding her. And unless she does too, then I will make one phone call and we can see what CPS thinks of the way their honest family makes a living. I remember her face went pale, but then it turned dark. She got this look like she had just pulled a trump card and said that if I interfere with her parenting again, she'll have me arrested so quickly I won't even get to make the CPS report. It was a clear threat. And because her family made considerable donations to the school and were pretty notorious good guys in our small town, her words held weight. Unfortunately for her, I had been in Sophie's shoes once, and I was willing to walk on hot coals to make sure this little girl got to eat. But I knew that to do that, I'd have to sadly be the bad guy for a little while. And so I stopped the food programs and started acting professionally distant. Sophie started losing weight again, and I could see it broke her little heart, but I'd always whisper to her that I was here for her, and I need her to hold out just a little longer. Because while on the surface I had given up, I was secretly documenting everything, every behavior, every modeling pickup. I took her testimonies during recess, which she so bravely agreed to give. She even revealed that her little sister was 5, and her parents had already started starving her to prepare her for the future. But then, just as we were on the verge of having enough proof, Sophie disappeared for a week. Her mother claimed she was doing something exclusive in Miami, but when Sophie returned, she looked skeletal again. Her hair was falling out. She could barely speak, and it's during lunch that the worst happened. She spotted unattended cupcakes on a classmate's desk. Desperation took over. She grabbed all of them and shoved them in her mouth. Doesn't sound so bad until you realize that such an intake of sugar and carbohydrates can literally unalive a person who has just starved. Don't believe me? Look it up. Within minutes, Sophie's eyes rolled back, her body convulsed, and she collapsed with foam coming out of her mouth. Full story on channel linked below.